Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. Today, I have another awesome guest. His name is Brent Erwin. For transparency's sake, we've been buddies for a while. I've known him. We're trying to figure it out. We don't even know how long we've known each other, but it's been a minute. So, please like, subscribe, let people know that this is going on. I want to bring on more indie creators, and let's get our guest in here.
JD, what's up, man?
Everything's good. How you doing, Brent?
I'm pretty good, but I'm good. Pretty good.
That's good. So, Brent, I mean, you have a huge, varied career in this business.
Yes, I do.
You know, worked at Valiant.
Dogs.
Oh, that's right, the dogs.
Yeah.
You know, you worked at Valiant. You worked at Wizard.
Yep.
You had your own publishing company.
Correct.
And now you're a store owner, comic book store owner.
It's kind of come full circle, to be honest, because I started as a retailer. I started.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was 18, I think, when I first started going to my first conventions, and I packed up my boxes, my collection and stuff, and I went and started selling conventions. And from there, I graduated into my first store in Waco, Texas, and had that for, I think we had like 6 or 7 years. Then I ended up getting closing that store and went to the East Coast and got a job. I had a store there for a while as well in New Jersey. And then, sorry, all these notifications are coming in here. Then I went into, when that closed, I went to, that was at like I guess, right around, 89, 90, 91, somewhere in that neighborhood, I guess, maybe. I can't remember. Dude, I'm so old. I did that until the market collapsed. Then I went to work for Diamond. I worked for them as a sales rep for Acclaim Comics out of Manhattan. And I did, I was with Acclaim for, they had just moved their offices. They had just gotten everything up and rolling, and they were starting the whole new launch under Fabian, the VH2 stuff, where they brought Mark and Sean Chen and, and Brian Augustin, like all those guys in, to do stuff. And I worked with them until they went out of business. Then I went to Wizard. And I worked for the Evil Empire allegedly for years. Then I went from there, and I worked for a couple other publishing ventures. Started my own company in '98, which was Ape, and then ended up about about 10 years ago. I guess I moved back here, and we started the stores here 7 years ago.
Wow, that's nuts. That is nuts. Yeah. All right, so that's a lot to unpack, right? Yep. So now you worked at Diamond.
Yes.
So how different is it, I guess, from huh?
The evilest of empires. They're good guys.
But I mean, how different was it? Like, all right, because when I started for self-publishing, like 91, 92, we had 13 different distributors.
Right.
Obviously, it compacted down to just one. Now it kind of is exploding out again.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll touch a little bit on that a little later, but
okay.
So like, how different did you see? Were you there when it like, at what point in Diamond's history were you there? Were you there when they were just a big dog, or did you actually see it become the big dog?
Well, I mean, from the retail side of it, I was there through Diamond, Capital City, Heroes World, Friendly Franks, all those. I was there during that whole Heroes World when Marvel did all that. I was there in the beginning for all that. By the time I got to Diamond, it was just Diamond left at that point in time. They had either absorbed everyone, had signed the exclusive deals, and it was pretty much just them at that point. As a matter of fact, I tell you what, it was right after they signed their exclusive deal with Valiant that I went there, because when I got brought on board to be a sales rep for Valiant, they had cut a deal with Diamond that the reason they were getting a sales force, which I was part of, was because Diamond had to pay for it as part of their exclusive contract with Valiant.
Wow. That's crazy.
I know, right?
That's nuts. Yep. So I mean, when you were at Diamond, what were your responsibilities? What were you doing?
Well, like I said, I was so the way that it worked is the sales force had to be employed by Diamond Comics due to their contract. So I was officially an employee of Diamond Comics, but I was the Northeast sales rep for Valiant. So what I did is I was worked out of Valiant's office in Manhattan since I was already living in New Jersey. So they put me in a little desk right outside of Steve Masarski's office. So I got to hear every single thing that happened at that company. And my responsibility was I was given a list of retailers by Diamond, and I was to call them up and try to sell them Acclaim's comics.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Now, apparently, so I guess, eventually Acclaim passes on, right?
Yeah.
And then, you ended up over at Wizard.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's it.
Oh,
how did? No, go ahead.
Give me a minute. Sorry. Yeah, I ended up at Wizard.
Mm. So I mean, at Wizard, like I remember you were doing advertising for them, so you like the ad rep. So I mean, yeah. So I mean, how interesting was that? Like, how close did you come to a lot of these different comic book publishers and editors?
Pretty close, honestly. I mean, when I started at Wizard, I didn't have any existing business, so I had to go out and find all my own. And at the time that I got there, Wizard didn't really have the best reputation for being very independent or indie friendly. Right. So one of the things that I came in is I knew a lot of people in the industry from my time publishing, and I was still publishing at the time, but I knew a lot of folk, and I went in with the whole mindset of, hey, let's bring these guys in, let's show them that we can build a market, at Wizard, that we are independent friendly, that we do care about them. So I worked pretty hard trying to establish. We did a couple of the Indy magazine. Indy, they did, what's the thing called? They had a couple that we ended up, myself and Karen Avora, who is a very dear friend of mine to this day, basically convinced, Fred Pierce and Gareb Shamus and all the editorial that, hey, give us an opportunity, help us create this quarterly independent publication, which they did, that focused and spotlighted indie product. And that was because of us fighting to get that done, that we did that. Editorial, everybody was behind it. It was great. It was fantastic. And people appreciated it.
No, yeah. I mean, that sounds incredible, especially, a magazine that for the most part was just, if it was Image, Marvel, and DC, and, once in a while, you might have a mention of Dark Horse.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But for the most part, it was, if you weren't Valiant, Image, Marvel, DC, you didn't get a lot of play back in the day,
No.
I mean, I had, if we're going to talk, like everything on the table here, I mean, you really look at it. I mean, they weren't there to do a public service. It was a business. At the end of the day, what is going to drive your business is, it's ad revenue, it's circulation, and that's what's going to do. And then sales, other sales, aside from that, whatever they can generate. So they had to make money, and you have to go and you have to essentially, fish where you think you're going to catch the biggest one. So I can't fault them for going after those bigger companies and doing that kind of stuff, because I mean, there's just you've self-published, how much money's in it. So, I mean, yes. When they come and say, hey, it's going to cost you $4,000 to buy this full-page ad to Wizard, you kind of look back and go, well, hey, I didn't make that in the last 5 years I published, so I don't think I want to do this.
Exactly.
That's an exaggeration. I mean, people do really well, but you know what I'm saying? It's like it's really hard to generate the kind of revenue that you need in order to do that. So again, for them to go out and take the resources that they did to publish the Indie magazine quarterly that they did, it was called Indie Spotlight or something like that. I'll have to dig up a copy. I've got one here somewhere. But I give them props for that. They try. They listen to us, and we tried our best. So,
hey, listen, that's all you can do in the end, right?
Amen.
So now, when you started doing like Ape Entertainment, what were like because I know you were publishing a bunch of people. Like, how did that work out? Like, how did you attract people? Or how did they?
It's funny, and I'm pretty sure. I bet you've had a similar experience as well too. When you start to publish, and it started out of like vanity publishing for us, to be honest. Myself and the other guys that were involved all had projects that we were doing that we wanted to print, and we did our stuff, and and we put it out. And then once you put it out there, and you're published and you're in previews and all that kind of stuff. And now, granted, I will say that I had the added benefit of working for Wizards, so I was generous. I can't think of the word. Yeah, generously given advertising in the magazine, like a quarter page, third pages, and stuff like that, to advertise what my publishing company was doing. So I got quite a bit of exposure from that as well. And then we also, I mean, being an ad person in advertising and marketing, I believe in advertising. So we did buy ads and previews and stuff when we did our projects. And the minute you start doing that and you start publishing stuff, stuff and get it out there, people see it. And they go, oh, wow, these guys are legitimate. They're publishing. I need to send them my stuff. And we would get approached. We would get, packets in the mail. We'd get emails. We would have people come up to us at conventions. Hey, will you publish my book? And, at the time, there were not a lot of smaller publishers that were really willing to go out there and take a chance on people, wanting to publish their stuff. Our whole thing when we were publishing other people's product is, it had to be good or up to what the standard that we felt our stuff was, or what we thought it should be. And it had to be better than what we were seeing in previews, for the most part.
Okay, well, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's
we
very reasonable.
Deals. We had a couple different plans. We had what we called our publishing plan, where if you came to us and said, hey, I have this project I want to do, we would look at it and go, okay, do we want to be a part of this? Do we want to put some, equity into this ourselves, or we'll reap part of the benefits? Or is this something that we're really not interested in, that doesn't really fall into the wheelhouse of what we want to do? And we would say, okay, we'll offer you a publishing plan where we will do the whole process, you create, and we'll take care of the back end business process of it for you. And this is how much it's going to cost to do that. And we would charge for, the solicitation into previews. We would edit for them. We would be their editors. We would market and promote the books. We would take it to conventions. We'd sell it. We'd offer it on our website. We basically did everything soup to nuts, where you as the creator, all you had to worry about was producing your book and then turning over the files on time, on deadline. And everything else was taken care of. And they paid for that. It was a lot. I mean, we didn't charge much. Nobody makes a lot of money. And then there was a partner plan where we go into it going, hey, we really like what you guys are doing, and we honestly think that we can make a little bit of cash off of this, all of us. And we're willing to upfront the cost of, we won't charge you for marketing. We won't charge you, to do the ads, or we'll take care of that ourselves. But we want a percentage of whatever, you make from it. And it was a fair deal. I mean, we had a lot of folks that came on board and tried it. They were very happy about it. So.
Well, that's good. I mean, do you remember how many different titles you published at one point?
Dude, I do not. It's so funny. In the back of my truck, in the back seat of my truck, I have a long box full of books. And that's trade miniseries. I mean, we probably did. I mean, honestly, if I think back on it, we were probably anywhere from about, in the beginning, about 4 books a year that weren't ours. And I think we got 6 or 8 before we were done. And we published for 10 years. So,
Yeah, that was a long time, yeah.
What's
funny, I was looking through my collection just the other day. There was a book, was it Trolls or Ogres?
Oh, Goblin Chronicles.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I have like 4 or 5 copies.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are fantastic. Those are fantastic books.
I'll tell you another thing too that's really fun, and I think a lot of people should think about this. So when I worked at Valiant, I had the privilege of working for a gentleman named John Hartz, and he was the head of the marketing department. And John originally worked for Bill Shanus and his brothers when they owned Pacific Comics in California.
Wow.
And John passed on a little something to me. He said, what we used to do when we were publishing our books, he said that we would go and we would publish all the interior, or all of our books. And he said, and then if I knew I was going to publish a trade, he said, I laid my books out in such a way that none of the ads were on the interiors of the books if we ever had any. He said, then I would overprint the interiors of my books by 500, 1,000 copies. And I would have the printer hold those and store them for me until the miniseries was done. Then they would take all of those and they would put them together. They would cut them, bind it into a trade where all I had to pay for was a front page and a flip side, and then a back page and a flip side and a cover. And boy, did we do that at 8.
So now, okay, yeah, that's what I was actually going to ask you. I mean, you just said you saved a lot of it. Was it like significant?
Oh God, yeah. And because if you think about it, like, when you're publishing, especially if you're doing material, the more you print, the cheaper it gets. Okay.
Right.
So if we were going to take a print run, and usually our print runs that we had negotiated were about 2,500 to 3,000 on a color book, and that was 32-page soft cover. And my cost to publish that back then was about 68 cents a book. Right. Okay, in color. So what I would do is I would publish the 2,500, but then I would overprint by 1,000 or 1,200. And I mean, I don't know how technical you get with the people that watch your show or whatever, but do they know about overrun and underrun?
If they don't, they will now.
Okay, so when you're dealing with a full-on web press printer, like somebody who prints like a real deal printer, you have what's called, you can either do underrun or overrun. And what you do is you tell them, I want 3,000 copies of this. And when they cut the press off, it doesn't come out to exactly 3,000, because whatever's in the press, it has to keep running. So they can either do an underrun, where if you want 3,000 and you say, all right, underrun it. And they'll come back and say, okay, we'll underrun up to 500. So that means you may get 2,500, you might get 28, you might get 26, you don't know. But you're going to be under the 3,000 usually. An overrun, which is what I always did, because, man, you do not want to get caught where you solicit a book and then it comes back, you're like, oh, yeah, I can underrun 3,000 and get 25, and you get a PO from Diamond for 3,200. You're like, oh, what do I do? So I always overran, because usually overrun, it's about 2% over usually what you're going to do, and that's just what the minute they cut it off at the press, there's still a number of books that are in the system, and they're going to come out the other end, and then you pay for that extra, that overrun. So what I would do, essentially we would overrun. So
right. No, that's pretty awesome. That's funny, because I mean, the only thing I've ever done to save money is when I started was I would do multiple covers. So I would do what's called a reader's edition, which was like just like a very basic edition. Then I did like a collector's edition, cardstock cover, foil stamped, and that whole deal. But the interiors were all the same.
Yeah. Well, where it really saved me money, though, is if you think about it. I mean, we were at 68 cents a unit, if we were up to a certain amount. So if that 68 cents is what I paid for the interiors of that book at 1,000 copies. So we're talking about $680 an issue. So rounded up to $700 an issue, basically say that, for 1,000 copies. And then you do that over 4 issues. So what are we talking? $2,800 that we've paid, all up front, and that's with the floppies. Or I'm not floppies, sorry, the serialized comics. So, and then at the end, when you go back, if I had to go and print that whole run of a trade paperback again, if I had to do that plus add an extra signature, which is 4 pages up front and 4 pages in the back, and then I had to do a cover around it too. My print run for that 1,000 copies of a trade, having it bound, it's square bound in that size, it was almost twice what it would have cost me to do it the way that I did it. I mean, So really at the end of the day, all I ended up paying for was one signature, which was 4 in the front, 4 in the back, in color, 4/4. And for people who don't know, again, I don't know what your guys know about 4. There's when you're talking in printing terms, 4/4 means 4 color on back and front. So if you ever talk to a printer and they want to know, are you doing 1/1 or 4/4 or 4/1, which could be done, it's all a matter of 4 colors is 1, and then 1 color is black is 1 other color. So anyway, so what I would do is I paid for the 2 signatures. Again, we would put 4 pages in the front, which would be the title page and the credits page. Then it would go into the comic. And again, we spaced all of our books so that all the ads fell on the covers and not inside the book story from beginning to end. And then it made it a pretty seamless transition when you're putting the tray together. And then we did 4 pages in the back, which is usually a cover gallery or an ad page or something like that. And then I did a cover. So I printed 1 signature and 1 cover, which honestly was about $200 or $300. And then there was the binding cost. So I could put a trade together at the end of the day, because the individual issues would have paid for the overrun.
Right.
And it probably cost us $700 or $800 to make 1,000 trades.
Wow. That's
it was huge savings.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. I mean, you guys did you guys leave the covers in, or did you just have the guts?
We only had the guts, because that was the beautiful thing too, is that we had them just run interiors and and they would palletize them and set them aside. They had a storage area. They go put them over there, and then when it was all said and done, I go, hey, all those Goblin Chronicles? I need you to make me a trade. Let's do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I've seen other publishers do something similar, but they would have the cover, like they were buying the books with the covers and everything.
Well, the art for us to make it work and make it work right is we wanted to make sure that the quality, that it felt like you were buying a trade and you were not buying a whole bunch of books smashed together, so that we intentionally designed them to be the way that they were. And we explained that to everybody up front when we were publishing for people, that this is how it works. And here's the reason why. And we would hand them one of our trades. They'd go, it reads just like a trade paperback, which it should.
Exactly. That's cool. What if you don't mind me asking? What printer did you work with?
Oh, absolutely. The one that I used is actually in Dallas, Texas, right now, and it's Neiman Printing. And if anybody wants to work with Neiman, all you got to do is message me or send me an email or something, and I will be more than happy to make an introduction to Angela over there, and she'll take good care of you. Wow, I can't guarantee prices now. I don't know what there are these days, but I did everything I did with them. Free comic book day trade, all my digest when we did all the DreamWorks stuff. I mean, I put a lot of work through those guys, and believe me, they were miracle workers too, man. They turned some stuff around, and sometimes I didn't think they could do it.
That isn't that all of us.
Dude, absolutely. But I'll tell you what, the one thing that I have to tell you that I loved about working with them is I had one person that I contacted, and it was Angela, and she was the best to work with. And I've had issues before where like the rollers will get because when you're printing and you're putting the color down, a lot of people might not know this, but comics are all printed on one gigantic sheet with one comic. And what happens is when they print it, then it gets folded down in multiple ways, and then they just trim it. They staple it and trim it. And it's all from one sheet of paper, is one book and everything. But what would happen is it got printed, the rollers that it's going over on the press when it goes, little bits of paper will clog up on those things, and they'll catch the dye. And you'll see these little smudges. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It'll be like a smudge on the book. I can't tell you how many times that happened that I would go, hey, and she's like, don't worry, we'll reprint it. And they, at their cost, they reprint the whole run.
Yeah.
They're good.
In digital printing, they're called deletions.
Okay.
So yeah, they're called deletions. You'll see like if you have if you're printing something in black and white or even in color, you'll see this area and it's just like a phased out, fuzzed out thing in the middle of the page, and it's a deletion. Yeah.
Speaking of which, you actually published printed my first book for me.
Yes. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
First two. Hold on. I just happened to have.
Oh wow.
I found it in my garage over the weekend. Look at that. Still from you, man. From you.
Still shrunk wrap. Because we used to shrink. I remember we used to give out those nice little bricks.
Yeah. I just realized I could probably pop this open and look at the date inside. That might tell us when we did this. Let's see here.
Probably
Oh my God, I was still in Edison, New Jersey at the time. Holy crud. 2004.
Wow. So
printed in the USA by Dreamweaver Press.
Yeah, so we probably met in 2002.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Easily. Yeah. That's crazy. Because I mean it's been a minute.
I know. Dude, it has, right? Oh my God.
Yeah. So okay, so let's get a little bit into some other stuff.
Sure.
So now when I first met you, and I just reminded you about this before we got on, we met as a writing group, and there was three of us. There was you, myself, another gentleman. Sorry, guy, you lost history.
Look who you've been talking to today.
Exactly. He's a nice guy. I remember being a nice guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've seen some of the stuff on your website, and once in a while you allude to some projects you're working on, and I can tell you're still in there. Those wheels are churning.
Always.
So with the writing, I mean, where have you gone? Where have you been? Like, what are you doing with that?
Honestly, the store's taken off a huge chunk of my time these days. But like you said, I still try to stay creative. I got a deal, where I have a project that I created called the Nanites, which is my version of the Micronauts, which is what's behind me right now. My background. It's my version of that because I think that the way that IDW and the other companies handled it was just horrendous. Nobody's done it like Marvel. Yeah, I'm sorry, So, I mean, I created that, and I've been working on that project for quite a long time, and I finally got a deal to get representation through the Global Genesis Group. So that was the most recent thing I announced, is that they're doing that for me now. So they're shopping it around, working on a Bible and some stuff like that for it to try to see what we can do with it. So I've got that, and I'm just toying around with some other little ideas. I did a superheroic universe. Was the last thing I did at 8, which was a personal project. The artist really wants to do some more stuff with it, so we're really talking about maybe doing something with that later on. I have my character, the Crimson Devil, which is this guy right here. I'm retooling this a little bit. And by the way, if anybody needs anything printed, you should go to Dreamweaver. Are you still printing? I mean,
no, I haven't done that in years.
Darn, I was the website, man.
I know.
I was trying. But I'm retooling that a little bit too, and I'm kind of doing kind of a lost hero kind of thing where he was this hero that basically saved everything. Back in the 30s, 40s, where there was this huge like supernatural invasion, like demonic invasion that was about to happen, and he sacrificed everything in order to save the planet. But part of that sacrifice was that the world completely forgot he ever existed. And while doing research for a story, a reporter stumbles across his lost sanctuary and says, "What is all this stuff?" and starts reading, and it just kind of rolls on from there. And it's either going to be a new version of the character or the old one comes back or something. I don't know. Haven't really fleshed all of it out yet, but I'm still working on it. Yeah.
Gotcha. You have to send me one of those books. I lost my entire archive in a flood.
No way. Yeah, I'll send you one.
I lost during that brief period, I think between 2004 and 2008, when we were actually printing. I think we published something like 1,200 books.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, from Floyd Norman, I don't know if you know who he is, the Disney animator. We had tons of people. I mean, we did Scotty Young.
I know
Scotty.
Everybody, man.
Yeah, we had a bunch of folks, and it was just like, wow, man, now they're famous.
Right? And what you made, well, not funny, but it goes to show the quality of what you guys did. I mean, this book is still, it's holding up. I mean, the spine is, look at that. I mean, you guys did a good job.
Thank you.
You should do it again.
Man. No, I thought about it. I was like, I don't know if I want to go into Hawk quite that much.
But answer me this: weren't you spending the majority of your time printing other people's stuff as opposed to being able to work on your own?
No, because I had a contract. I was actually a middleman.
Okay.
I had a contract. What Daphne and I would do, we were doing file prep.
Okay.
So that's what we did. We did primarily a lot of file prep, made it real easy on the guys that were doing the actual work. Once in a blue moon, I'd have to go into the facility and actually do some physical manual labor.
Okay. Wow.
That was during crunch time, like during San Diego.
Oh my God.
Like Yeah, like on an average month. Yeah, on an average month, we would do 15 to 20 books on an average month, easy.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
San Diego, it was 60 to 80. You know, easy.
And
Some
probably 3 weeks before. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I need to have this book in time for San Diego.
Yeah.
Well, when we were at eight, I had the same problem. It's like everybody would like, oh yeah, by the way, we want to have this first issue ready for San Diego. We're like, what are you should have told us this like months ago. We probably should have asked, but we put I'll tell you one thing. I've worked with a lot of young creators and a lot of people, and I'll tell you what I told them. I said, you want to know, I finally, after years, figured out what is the secret to comic books and to being professional in the comic book industry. I know what it is. I'm going to wait till the end of the show, and I'll tell. I'm just kidding. Honestly, the secret to comics is schedule. It's all about schedules. If you are a creator and you are working for a company and they're paying you to work, be ahead of schedule, and you will always get work. Always. And you can be an artist, and you can be a great artist who can only produce a couple of pages, and you will not get that much work. But when you do, it'll pay a lot. Or you can be an adequate artist that does a really good job and turns your stuff in early or on time, and you will get that job before anybody else every single time. Know your schedule, know what you can do, produce it, and put it out on time. Don't be late. That is being professional in comics.
Yep. What is it? Those three things. Be a nice guy.
Yep.
Right? Be super duper talented.
Yes.
And be on time. So you can be any of those two things.
Yep. So true.
You can be any of those two things. Yeah. Yep. Arthur Adams, super duper nice guy.
Yep. Super
incredible artist.
Yep.
Never on time.
Never.
Yep. Adam Hughes. Right? Adam Hughes, super duper nice guy. Right?
Oh yeah.
Super talented. Never on time.
Not gonna happen.
But a little.
Yeah. But I'm going to use it now on these three things that you can be. Gotta be two of them.
Gotta be two of them.
It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So when you work with your artists, like how do you work as far as like scripts? Do you do like a full script, or do you do like Marvel style where you write out a little blurb and you let them figure it out and you come back and script it? How do you work that?
I sit down and I do a concept paragraph in the beginning that says here's what's going to happen on this page, and then I break it down panel by panel and I include all of my dialogue. As when I write my entire script and everything out, and I write it all out, descriptions, all of it, and then I turn it over to the artist. And I usually take a piece of paper, and I've already sketched out all the like how I think the panels like in my mind, how I saw them when I was writing it, and I give them that along with the script, and then I go, you can take this or you can throw it away. I said, if you've got better ideas and you come up with something that looks cooler and has a better flow, I'm all for it, because at the end of the day, it's a collaboration. And what I'm doing is I'm giving you my idea, and I want you to take that idea and you're gonna actualize it. So if you come up with an idea that you think is, hey, Brent, can we move this around because I can do this gigantic splash? It's gonna look do it. Let's do it. We'll come to an agreement. But it is a synergetic relationship with all parties concerned.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's move over to some questions about retail.
Okay.
Right, because I think this is a thing, like because I think most of the people that listen to me or come on they're indie publishers. So so they're always interested. Everybody's trying to get into a store somewhere. It says, oh man, how can I get in there? So I mean, I've never discussed with you, but I would imagine your store would be very indie friendly considering your background.
Yeah.
So like if an indie publisher wanted to approach you and say, hey Brent, would you please carry some of my stuff, what would be the things they would have to do to get your support?
Okay. First of all, it's the product has got to look good. I mean, it's got to be quality, and it's got to be. So from when I was at Ape, I always used the term, you're either ready for prime time or not quite ready for prime time, and you have to ready for prime time as far as I'm concerned. So the look has got to be there. It's got to have it's good quality. It's got to have good art. Those are the things that are going to catch my attention right away. Okay. The one thing that I will stress to anybody who's doing anything independent and wants to try to get a retailer to look at it is you have to understand that we're running our store. We are in the store day in, day out. We're at the counter. We're ringing up customers. We're talking to people. We're juggling Diamond and now 2 other distributors that are going to handle DC product, along with every order that comes in and employees and everything else. So if you have to take the initiative to be the one to contact us and to follow up with us and to keep in contact with us, okay? Because unfortunately, we just don't have the time. And by the time we do have the time, we've forgotten about it. It's horrible to say. There's so many moving parts to this as there is publishing, and we're customer forward. So, we're having to make sure that all the needs of our customers are being met at the same time. So follow up, send us an email, send us a PDF, find out what that person prefers. Would they rather get an instant message with a PDF? Would they rather have an email, or would they rather talk on the phone? And if you can, make that time, because I know myself, I am much more old school. I'm 50 years old at this point, okay? And I would much rather have a conversation like you and I are having right now, where I'm looking you in the eye, you're looking me in the eye, we're talking, we're chatting, and you're telling me about how good your stuff is. If that can't happen, get on the phone with me. I want to talk on the phone. Email, I get a million of them a day, and it's just so hard for me to follow. I follow up with the important, what I have to answer, and the rest of it, it's a matter of how fast can I get to it. Instant messages, I can get to a lot faster. I'm a person, but again, the point is to find out what the person is you're trying to sell to. Find out what is the easiest mode of communication for them and use that. And that will help you an awful lot. For sure.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Now, talking about you, the new system in distribution is going down. Yeah. I mean, is it something that did it blindside you when it happened? I mean, now we're going to go into a different thing, but
we kind of saw it coming. I mean, everything that happened with COVID and the shutdown, you could literally see little cracks in the wall. DC is like, you can tell they're getting really frustrated with Diamond and what's going on. But we didn't know the extent to how long it had been going on, I think was the thing. The biggest problem that retailers are running into right now is that we know we have new distributors we have to deal with, but there are about 3 different point of sale systems, which is what we use to scan and ring up comics and to keep track of customer orders and do your subscriptions and all that. There are different systems out there. And all the systems require data to be given to them in a certain way in order for us to order and do our subscription polls and all that kind of stuff. And what's happening is a lot of these new distributors, even though they are retailers, are not savvy enough to know how that data needs to be presented to everybody. So coming down to the wire where we have FOCs that are due, which is final order cutoff, where we give to the distributors the final numbers that we're going to want to order on product by Monday at midnight. And there's a lot of people that don't have accounts set up yet that haven't gotten responses from the distributors. And a lot of people just don't know, how are we going to upload the info into our system to be able to order it? Do we have to order it manually on their website and then manually enter it into ours, which is a pain in the butt? So there's a lot of learning going on.
Gotcha. Now, which side do you end up on, Lunar or UCS?
I'm on UCS right now. That's Midtown.
Okay.
It's Midtown.
That's Midtown. Yeah.
So. I mean, they're nice guys. I knew them from back in my Wizard days, So, and apparently I was very special because I got to call. I called up. Everybody's been trying to call and get a hold of these guys, and my account hadn't been approved until I think Monday or Tuesday. And I got on the phone and I called and I didn't get anybody. I said, "Well, hey, I've done this telephone sales thing. I know how this works." Wait a half an hour, call back. Wait a half an hour, call back. And I keep calling. Second time, I got somebody on the phone. He took care of the problem, and I was ready to go. So.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll see. Like from my perspective. Oh, yeah. This is a question I wanted to ask you now, because, like I said, you've worn so many hats that it's fascinating. Because, like, okay, so now, because for me as an independent publisher, I find it interesting because I've been, a lot of independent publishers, we're just locked out of Diamond.
Sure.
Which it's very difficult to break that wall. It's very difficult to get in. And then once you're in, it's a whole nother battle. It's like you got to make numbers. And if you don't make those numbers, so it's difficult. So, you yourself as a former and maybe sometime in the future again, self-publisher, however you're going to work it, right? Would you consider like this paradigm shift like something that might be beneficial for you?
Yes. So there's this whole, monopoly. Should there be, shouldn't there be, going back and forth. And there's a lot of retailers that go, all you people that said you wish Diamond was the only one, now you've gotten your wish. Hope you're happy. What I'm going to say is what I've always said, is that change is good. Change is always good. We may not be happy with the results, but change itself is a good thing. Okay? Because if we don't change, we don't grow. And if we don't grow, we die. Right. And I honestly feel that having one single outlet to which product is put into a marketplace, and one single outlet from which you are required to buy your product from, even though they do their best to have a level playing field and do what's best for everybody concerned, it's never better than when there is competition in the marketplace anywhere. And this is coming from a store owner who has had stores open up down the street and across town from him. All it does is make me do a better job at what I'm currently doing. It makes me give better service, and it makes me make sure that, I'm doing the best I possibly can, to make my store the best it can be. And again, while I believe that other companies strive for that, having competition in the marketplace is a good thing because it puts everybody on their toes at that point. And if you can have more than one outlet to distribute your product, yeah, it's a little bit more work, but how many different sets of eyes that may not be over here looking at it are looking at it over here? Take every opportunity you can. That's my fault.
Yeah, because like I said, in the bygone era when I started, when there was 13, 14 different distributors, I remember there was a time we could sell 2, 3, up to 5,000 books. Yeah, a shot, and then relist those books. Which is something Diamond was like adamantly against.
Oh yeah.
But through the current system, through Diamond, if you got an order for 800 books, you'd be dancing a jig as an indie publisher.
Yeah. Dude, are you crazy? Yeah, it's insane. I'll tell you one thing that's always just been so interesting to me, and I have wanted to figure out a way to aggregate all of it together for a long time, is that there are so many people that are producing comics out there in the wild, as I'll call it, that never get a chance to get it into previews or in front of retailers or even any other people. I'm surprised every day that I go onto Facebook and how many new books I see that pop up, and I go, God, where did this come from? This looks awesome. Why did I not know about this before? And I call it's making comics in a vacuum. Yeah. And I really feel that there's so many little pockets all across the country of people that are producing really great stuff. We just don't know about it because we don't have a chance or opportunity to see it. Yeah. And we need some place where all that can come together and people can see all that stuff.
Yeah. Because I've had conversations with guys where we're talking about like Kickstarter, IndieGoGo, and you're talking about on Kickstarter, anywhere from 80 to 100, 125 projects a month.
Yeah, but yeah, there's that many out there, but let's be real. Come on, how much of that is wheat and how much of it's chaff? What the cream is supposed to rise to the top here, okay? No. You got to dredge through a lot of buttermilk to find, get to the good stuff. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. I'm a firm believer in Sturgeon's law. 95% of it is crap. 5% of it is the good stuff. And, and myself and the other creators, It's our job to get into that, to claw and do whatever we have to do to get into that 5%.
Yep.
You know. Yep. And I mean,
that's one good thing about crowdsourcing, though, that I do have to say, and that is where the IndieGoGos and the Kickstarters and all that kind of stuff really do come into play, is that you put something out there, and if the quality's there and it's good, you're going to see it go up, and it's going to be ones that get funded within a couple of days, and then when you start looking at that, you go, okay, now I can pinpoint what the good stuff is that I want to look at, So.
Yeah. Now, one question, like, seeing as we have IndieGoGo and Kickstarter, which is something we didn't have way back when,
Right.
and you as a retailer, how do you feel about it? I mean, do you consider them like do you consider those platforms like your competition, or do you even give them any thought?
No, I do. I mean, and again, coming from the perspective of being a publisher and understanding what costs are involved with the production of that book and how much money you sink. Like, for example, if I'm a writer and I have I come up with an idea, and even when I was at Ape, there was a lot of times that, like, I have insomnia a lot, in which and what I'll do is I'll get up in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, and I'll go down and I'll start jotting down ideas, or something will come to me, and then I didn't have time to write it, so I would take the concept, I'd write out all my concept, my characters, and everything, and I would go and hand it off to a writer that we had, at Ape, or somebody who I wanted to work with, and let them flesh out the concept, which I was involved in the whole process with, and then we would hire the artist, and then the penciler, the inker, the colors, the whole 9 yards, everything. There's a lot of money involved in that,
Oh yeah.
And IndieGoGo and Kickstarter can really help relieve a lot of that financial burden. And that's from the publishing side of it. From the retailer standpoint, what I look at is, okay, so you've created this really awesome, amazing book that you have now gone out and offered and sold to a ton of people, including some of my customers already. And now you want me to buy it, after it's been out there. The only time I have a problem with it is if they come back to me and they're not offering a retailer tier or some kind of retailer package, that they just want me to just flat out buy it. If they have some kind of package put together already that says, hey, we did this book this way, and here's the retailer package, I'm offering you 50 off, I'll give you this and that, or free shipping or whatever, I'm all for it. I mean, do what you can to get your book out there, and if you can create some interest in it, and if you do your initial sales run through, Kickstarter or whatever, and people want more, send them my way, great. We can do it. It's just a matter of consideration, really.
Of course. Now, I got a question, because this is when I'm doing a little bit of research for myself. I've been doing the Osmo Chronicles forever, and I'm finally getting it to a point where it's just like, no, that's fine.
I got something I'm bring it up, Shay.
Yeah. So I've finally gotten to a point where it's like I'm starting to think, I'm like, okay, am I looking to release this, to the larger community, going through the different distributors and that sort of thing. So, wow, yeah, that is old. Woof. Yeah, look.
Nice, Steve.
Yeah. Look.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
How long we've been friends, man? This is how long we've been friends.
It's serious. It's that. Oof, that was a while ago. Yes. But here, I'll show you. I'll show you something.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh man. Oh man. Wow.
So, yeah, that's a little bit of the evolution. But
dude, I have the other book you guys were doing too. What did you do before Osmo Particles?
Tall Tales.
Yeah, I have all those. Yeah. I got time.
Oh yeah. We're still chugging along. Slowly but surely.
Exactly.
So my question is as a person who sells comics on a day-to-day basis.
Sure.
So would you rather have a 30, let's say a 32-page or a 24 to 32-page comic at a $2.99 retail or $2.95, or would you rather have, let's say, an 80-page book that's $5.99? Like, which one do you, in your opinion, which one do you think would do better?
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
People walk by with dogs outside. I would rather personally, and this is so here's the hard truth for anybody publishing indie and trying to get into another store. Like I said, we're swamped for time and everything else. The other thing is budget. I go into each month knowing how much money I basically have to spend in previews. Okay. And that's, back to front, that includes merchandise as well as comics and everything else. And I've set a certain amount aside, and Marvel and DC with, doing 20 covers on this, and then, and Dynamite does like 45 covers for every book that they have, topless, bottomless, black, white, sketched, colored, inked, magnetic, or whatever. They and a lot of that, when a lot of retailers get into the multi-cover thing, it eats away at what extra money they have set aside or that they can spend on indie stuff. There are a lot of companies out there that are producing a lot of really good material right now, and they're doing it more in the form of a graphic novel, where it's a $15.95 or a $9.95 or something like that. If it is a property that I have never seen before or never carried in my store, to ask me to invest $15, even $10 to $15 in what's going to be one, maybe two copies of that book at that price point is going to be really hard. I'm more likely to look at your book, and if I like the premise, I'm more likely to spend and buy 3, 4, or 5 copies of it at $3.99 than I am to buy one copy at $9.
Gotcha.
To be honest, yeah.
Okay, no. I mean, this is valuable information because it's like I said, it's a different insight.
And I'll tell you right now, I can't mention the company's name, but there is a company that I was told the other day is producing comics that they're going to. The first issues are going to be basically a cost of 25 cents to the retailers, but they're going to have a $3.99 price on them. And they're doing that so that when it comes to me, I have the opportunity to buy it at a really cheap price, and then if I want, I can pass that savings by cutting the book's cost in half and letting people try number one at half price. That's extremely enticing to me.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible.
And I know not everybody can do that, but when you can, I mean, it's a good thing.
Now, one of the books, one of the publishers has always intrigued me. I don't know if you stock them or if you ever have any opinion on one way or the other. Is Alterna with their $1.50 books, soon to be, I don't know, they're $2 books. I mean, as a retailer, do you find those like enticing? I mean, do the customers react to them and say, "Oh, that's $1.50"?
Personally, yes, absolutely. Our industry started on newsprint. And I personally think there's nothing wrong with newsprint. Right. I look at the Alterna books, and the color and the quality is good newsprint printing. And honestly, if I do anything again, I'm probably going to do it using that printing process. And their costs are just ridiculously low, to be honest. It's such a good price. I don't really think. I mean, as long as you're producing a good quality material, again, I think. The slick paper is really nice and everything else, but there's something about newsprint that just it marks that old fanboy in me that says, "God, this is like it's like reading a copy of ROM, the Space Knight or Micronauts from back in the day." And especially with the color process that we have now, what you can do, I think it's great. The problem that I have is I've carried all the Alterna stuff, and I frequently try a lot of the new books that they do. The price point, a lot of their art that they do is just really not at it's not what my customers are looking for. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the best way to say it.
No, of course. I mean, it's not for everybody, right? I mean, that's the thing.
But that's the beautiful thing. I mean, that's the thing about indie comics and what they're doing. I mean, I love what they're doing, and I've carried their stuff. And every time I try something new, every time they do something new, I try it. But that's the beautiful thing about indie comics is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's everybody does what they want to do, which is what's great.
No, that's awesome.
I'm not like an art snob or anything, because I really I'm not.
Says I'm not an art snob, but I am.
If you're I don't want to talk to you.
Exactly.
Todd McFarlane, who? What? Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Whoa, I think I'm phasing out.
Uh-oh. Are you there?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Woof.
I'm just playing.
Yeah. No, I was like, what? I got the little
the freezing. Yeah. It's the late night that goes up now. So yeah.
I would think now would be better. There would be less people.
You would think, man. You never know. I do a lot of Facebook Live sales and stuff, and it's catch again, man. You never know. You just never know.
This is true. All right. So we've been still wrapping it up, but I got a few more questions for you.
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, well, first, this is just a general question I just asked everybody because I've been on interviews where you always have that question that you want someone to ask you and they never ask you. Yeah. So is there anything that you wanted to talk about or I didn't ask you that you just want to discuss?
Oh God, yeah. Look, you want to talk about licensed comics? As you know, I did a lot of those.
Okay,
I did DreamWorks. I did the Harvey Richie Rich library, all of Harvey comics. I did Strawberry Shortcake, Pocket God. Pocket God, by the way, #1 selling comic in the world digitally.
Really?
Sold over 1 million copies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Now, how did you get into that?
Into the licensing stuff?
Yeah.
We were just talking about like what's the next level? Where do we go from here? What have we done? And I had a friend of mine come and he said, nobody's making comic books about Kung Fu Panda. You should really think about that. And went and talked with the guys at Ape, and we were like, yeah, let's give it a try. And went out and started negotiating licensing deals. And man, I found out I could. That was fun. I liked doing that. So, awesome. Yeah, but man, it's a lot of fun to negotiate it. The rest of it is where it gets, will break your back.
Oh, really?
Well, it comes down to your negotiation. I mean, you have to have a certain amount of approvals written in, and you have to have a certain amount of time written in for them to approve. And the problem when you start dealing with licensed books is there's really two different things that are going on here. You're dealing with people in a corporate mindset whose end goal is to make money at the end of the day, but also to control their brand. So you have to produce, product on spec with the brand, the guides that they've given you to produce this stuff. And I got notes back from DreamWorks when we would return in pages. Shrek's eyebrows are off by a centimeter and need to be moved over. Wow. Or like, the kerning on this letter that you did is off by 3 points. Stuff like that. And the people that have never made a comic book in their life come to
exactly.
All they've done is make comic books for all their lives, and basically know how to do it better than you do. So there's a very old saying called "A giraffe is a horse made by committee." Right?
Gotcha.
And that's what corporate comics are. They're a giraffe. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of fun in the beginning. I did reach my threshold where I was like, okay, I'm done with this after a while. But to be able to work on stuff like the Harvey Library, I loved Richie Rich and Casper and Wendy and Hot Stuff and all that kind of stuff. And to be able to work and to play in that, and to be able to take Richie Rich and completely reconceive it for the 90s as opposed to the 60s and 70s was so much fun. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Strawberry Shortcake, the people at American Greetings, I have never worked with a better group of people that were easier to work with than those people were. It was a pleasure working with those guys,
Wow.
And then the other thing about licensed books, and again, that goes with a lot of the digital books that we did too, like Pocket God. Those guys are awesome. Because what it is, a lot of the app developers they're just guys like me and you that have come up with a concept and developed a game and built it and put it out there. And then the next thing you know, it's a mega hit and they just don't know what to do. And to be able to go in with them and to help flesh out their world and take something that had no story or had a very little story and help them flesh it out and build an entire world out of it so that they can then take it and market and do more. It was fantastic. It's a great experience. But when it comes to licensed books, especially ones that are dealing with properties like, Richie Rich or any of the Harvey stuff, the DreamWorks stuff, Strawberry Shortcake, any of that kind of stuff that's actual licensed merchandise and material, you're either in one position. You're either in front of something or you're behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in front of something, they already have this gigantic machine that's rolling that is producing an animated series, toys and books and kites and pajamas and rugs and everything else. And or you get caught up into that machinery and it just pushes you. And they basically push business to you. The other end, which, unfortunately the Harvey stuff is you're behind it. And that means that there's really nothing out. They had Casper Scare School that came out during the holiday season, and that was it. And you're the one that's doing all the marketing and all the pushing and trying to get it into all the different markets. And you're the sole person that's pushing that whole project along. So you don't have the added help of being of the machine that's behind you. So you have to know when you're going to license, if you're going to be in front of it or if you're going to be behind it. And you got to be prepared when you go into that, knowing how much work's involved in it. And we learned an awful lot. And I know now, if I were to do it again, I know exactly where I would be. I know what the expectations are. I know what I would pay. I know my percentages. Especially if I'm in front or behind, I know the difference now. So, that's my life comic spiel.
No, that's awesome.
Probably.
All right, cool.
That's my question. That's the one I'd want everybody to ask me, because I have a strong opinion about it.
No, that's awesome. Because I would have never, like I said, being an indie guy, we don't think about licensing and any of that jazz. We would have like that.
Dude, I know. And for me, I mean, honestly, I started out making comics that were a sheet of paper folded over 4 times, a little mini comic, and then comics like that. I started that, and I started in the APAs, the APAs, the small press associations. I started out with the NAT, and the NAT evolved into APE, which then it went from, taking the stuff from that format to fully printed format. Then from there to licensed comics to just, producing other people's books to everything else. One of the coolest and most lucrative things that we ever did were making comics for Hollywood.
Really?
And if you can get in that business, jump all over that. Because what happens is the studios were coming and going, hey, we have this great idea that we think is going to be a movie, but we need a proof of concept. Can you make a comic book series for us? Why, sure we can, and we'll charge you, X amount of dollars to do it. And they were like, okay, here's cool. And just throw it.
Oh yeah, that must be incredible.
Oh yeah, I can go through the ape line and pick out and tell you where one of those is. Some were good, some were like, okay, we're doing this for you, not a problem.
Got you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like, you're like, wow, look at all this money, and they're like, we got these guys cheap.
Oh yeah, dude, yeah. Because you think about it, I'm they're looking at me, they were looking at Top Cow, they were looking at Marvel, because everybody in a studio was doing licensed books like that. And they were coming in, they were getting these quotes, they would come back to us and go, wow, you guys are doing, so, we were basically taking our guys and their rates, and, we were getting them a really good rate for what they would have gotten anywhere else, and we had if you go back and look at some of the Ape stuff, we had some good talent, man. I mean, we scouted and looked and found a lot of good guys, and they were producing, stuff that was on quality, what you'd find at any of the other companies. And we paid, at the time, we were paying on par, I don't know, $50, $60 a page. We were doing okay back in the day. This is, talking, this was 8 or 9 years ago. But that was pretty good, for an guy who hadn't been published by Marvel or DC yet, and getting them better rates than that when we went and did the Hollywood stuff for him.
Right.
But again, we were cheaper than anybody else out there that was doing it. So,
no, that's cool.
Yeah,
no, that's awesome. Yeah. All right. So like I said, so we're coming close to the end, but we're not at the end. So we got still a few more questions for you. I got a few goofy ones for you. But before we get to that stuff, let the people know, where can they your website, anything you want to share as far as where can you be found, contacting your stores.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So if you go on to, sorry. I'm on Facebook, Brent Erwin, as it says right here below my name. Just look for that. You'll see me. You'll see my mug. Just go and check out my page. If you want to see any of the new creator content that I'm working on, I have Atomic Age Studios. It's just on Facebook as well too. You can go there. The stores are Collected Comics and Games or Collected Keller and Collected Fort Worth because we're in Fort Worth, Texas. You can check us out there. All of it's in my Facebook profile and stuff too. I always cross post everything. I got a brand new project I'm working on called mycomiccon.com, which is a social network set up just for comics. So that's out there. Comics and comics creators. Yeah, I'm all over the place. I don't really have everything's on Facebook pretty much. I mean,
we are old.
I know it's easy. Like click, I'm done.
That's it. Yep. No, that's awesome. All right. So on to some goofy questions.
Yes.
All right. So now, if you were given the golden ticket, right, and they called you up to any of these big companies, it doesn't matter, Marvel, DC, Dynamite, take your pick, it doesn't matter, and they said, Brent, pick whoever you want.
Okay.
What story? What would be the book or you would write, and what would be the art team you would choose?
Oh, man.
And they could be living or dead, and don't worry about money.
Oh wow! Okay, perfect. I like this. Who can I have dinner with, living or dead? This is really simple, honestly. It would be Marvel. I would pick the Micronauts. And even though you can't get the license, I already have an idea how to handle it with all characters within the Marvel universe. I would take Michael Golden as my artist, or Chris Bachalo. Probably Bachalo because he's more like Golden was back in the day when I was a super. I mean, I love Golden. Don't get me wrong. The guy is a comic book god as far as I'm concerned. But his style has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Bachalo now is more like a Golden then. So I'd probably pick Chris Bachalo to be the artist on it.
Gotcha.
Man, oh yeah. I don't know who I'd pick to color. Whoever he thought was good.
Right.
You know, I'd probably have to write it myself. I just would. And I'm telling you right now, man, I could put Micronauts right dead center in the Marvel universe, and I could make it work. I wouldn't need a licensed character one. I could make it work.
Okay. Cool.
And if I had to go to DC, I'll take one more step.
No, go for it.
If I had to go to DC, I would take the Teen Titans, and I would bring George Perez in to draw and Marv Wolfman to co-write, and we would write the hell and draw the hell out of that book. And it would be a DC top selling when we were done, I'm telling you.
It's awesome. Yeah. I love all those. It's my childhood too.
Oh, dude, I mean, for DC, honestly, I know that there's a lot of books out there that get a lot of hype and get talked up an awful lot. But there are two things at DC that I think get underrated more than anything else, and that is the Wolfman Perez run on New Teen Titans. That they started with Judas Contract, and what was it? 4 gigantic volumes later, was it 7 years? They finally wrapped it up, and you got a little that story the whole time, and they pulled you through that whole narrative. Not a better piece of writing at DC Comics than New Teen Titans, period. The only other thing that comes close to it is the Great Darkness Saga from Legion of Superheroes with Keith Geffen. Right. And can't remember who else was on at the time. But that, fantastic. Just fantastic. They do not get enough acclaim. They really don't. They're both fantastic. Go out and trade. I love it.
Yes. Now, talking about Michael Golden a little bit, because his work now reminds me of Jason Pearson, right? And then that's not a slight. Jason Pearson is incredible. Michael Golden, because Michael Golden back then reminded me of a more, dare I say it, refined John Byrne. Yeah.
The thing about Golden stuff, and for me, the pinnacle era of Golden is the first 10 issues of Micronauts, Avengers Annual number 10, and then all the covers that he did. Every time a book slumped in sales, they brought him on to do covers. You have a run of him doing covers on ROM, and then Defenders, and G.I. Joe, like that G.I. Joe Winter Guard special that he did. I mean, that era right in there, all that stuff that he was doing, beautiful. The Star Wars book he did, beautiful. he had a certain way of bringing kind of an anime aspect where he did a lot of rounder eyes, but everything also had a certain roundness to it, and it felt heavy is not the right word, but substantial. You know what I mean? A certain weight to it, and the way he could draw less was more with him. I can't put it any other way. You know, it's just rounded and beautiful, and you know, circles are pleasing to the eye. That's why we love Disney, and Michael Golden had a lot of that. If you look at it, a lot of the roundness, like the way he would draw Storm or Spider Woman, you know, in like those Avengers books, you know, it just great. Sorry, I can talk about that. We could do a whole show on Golden.
Yeah, no, I got you. But one of my favorite works of his, Bucky O'Hare.
Oh, dude, yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
That was not Kamiko. Continuity.
Continuity. Yeah, Neil Adams company.
Yeah. Yep. Boy.
All right. So, all right. So I got a few other crazy questions for you. So, now some of these you may be familiar with, some of them you may not. If you're not, that's fine. Cool. You can just say pass. I'll throw you a few softballs first.
Okay.
Godzilla or Gamera?
Godzilla.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see.
Especially when he used his tail to fly and he would spin it. It's in the later stuff, but yeah.
Harry Potter or Narnia?
Oh, Narnia, hands down.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Kirby or Ditko?
Kirby.
Okay. Cool.
Kirby. Yeah.
I'll ask you this because you're.
Can I add an addendum to that?
Go ahead.
They're both fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Yes. When I first started in comics, I was not a Kirby fan at all. I just did not like it. The older I've gotten, and the more that I looked at what Kirby had created, and I saw how I did it, and then I heard the speed at which he did it and produced, I became such a fan. And I looked at what, and I saw how he wanted to create this dynamic, like, super feel to everything. That's what really won me over with him. Later on, yeah.
No, yeah. It took me a long time. Well, because what's funny is my first indie comic was Captain Victory.
Oh man, yeah.
That was my first indie comic. I was just like, what is that? You know, because I would go to this little shop called Super Snipe, and I guess, damn, this was like might have been like 78, 79. Okay. I was like 10, you know. It was just like, you know, and yeah, and it was this little hole in the wall. It was awesome, and it was like Captain Victor. It was like, what is that?
That was Pacific Comics, by the way.
Yep, PC. Yeah. Yep. Incredible stuff.
All right.
So, since you're a knowledgeable man, I'll ask you this one: Will Eisner or Toth?
Okay, I know the answer to this one.
No, of course.
Love them both, but Alex Toth for sure. There is a book, and I'll tell you why. I mean, you know, I appreciate everything that Will Eisner did. I mean, the man changed the face of comics for sure. But Alex Toth, he captured my youth. I mean, because there's a book called Toth by Design, which I own a copy of, and it is out of print and hard to find. And it's got every concept drawing that he ever did when he worked at Filmation and was creating all the different series and everything that he did. And to look through that book and just to realize like everything that man, like what he did, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So yeah, I'm a Toth man.
Gotcha. 100%. Next gen or DS9?
Voyager? No. DS9.
DS9, okay.
Yeah. And again, there's an explanation for all of it. Next Gen was great, and it got us all started back on the Star Trek bandwagon. But there was more character development that happened in the episodes of DS9 than in pretty much all of the other Star Trek shows, because they were not whisking away to another part of the galaxy. They were stuck in one location, and they had to deal with each other and what was happening there. So, yeah. And Voyager's the same concept, but a little flip, where they just don't get rescued by the Federation every episode.
Right. Hellboy or Spawn?
Hellboy.
Oh, okay.
Hellboy, yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, I'll ask you a couple more and we'll wrap this up.
All right, cool. I'm good. Yeah, we can go for another hour. I'm down. Let's
go. All right, John Byrne or George Perez?
Oh, what do it? Why? Let's see. I'm sorry, I have to explain all of these. I just can't.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Huge Byrne fan of the old Byrne. Loved everything that he did, from X-Men through Alpha Flight to a lot of the Indy stuff to a lot of X-Men, a lot of that stuff. There was a point in time when he was working on Alpha Flight that he was ready to leave. And you can watch the transition of these incredibly detailed backgrounds that Byrne would do on the stuff that he was doing, up until he reached a certain point at which everything became a color. It was a blue or a yellow. And everything got a little bit more minimalistic as he went along. So I love that man. He was part of my childhood, hands down. George Perez has consistently created detail in everything that he does. And I would say George.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Are you okay? I'll ask you this one. I don't know if you're gonna know these. Maybe you will. Maybe you won't. I mean, all right. Akira or Nausicaa?
Ooh. The easy answer is Akira, of course, because everybody knows it. Everybody's seen it. But Nausicaa's very good too.
Oh yeah, Nausicaa's incredible.
Yeah. I'd probably say Akira only because I've watched it so much. I mean, I can hear the dong. I don't know what I'm watching. It's just, I watched it so many times.
Yeah. Now, what's funny is when I first seen it, when I first saw it, I used to go to this place called Tokyo Video in Manhattan, right? And you could rent or buy a video. And I just saw it was just in a white bootleg box. It was like $20 and it just said Akira. And I was like, all right, let me get that. And I just paid and left. And we popped it in and our minds were just blown. Now here's the thing though. No subtitles, no nothing. And that's you can follow the story.
So during my New York City days when I was working for Wizard, and all that stuff through all those years, and I was there 16 years, there's a little place down in Chinatown called Octopus Kingdom. And the same little thing is like you'd get off on Prince, you'd walk over a block and then walk down, and it's in the middle of this little place. And you walk in and literally there was like that much space, if you could see my hands, to get down. Nothing but videotapes and little white boxes all the way down. And you walk in and go, so what do you have that's new, that has magic or has, I would list off, I got this and this. And it was, I think it was $25 a tape or 4 for $60 or something like that. And man, I call my roommate and go, how many do you want? He's like, get 8. And I get 8, I get 4. And we walk out of there, $160, $70 later and have a weekend's worth of stuff to watch, So
that was a crazy time.
Yeah. Became a huge Studio Ghibli fan. I watched all their movies and just love them.
They're fantastic films. Because I mean, there was So the thing with Akira though, here's the funny thing. So a couple years later, 2 or 3 years later, they released the dubbed version.
Yeah.
And they put it out in movie theaters. And I remember I went to go see it and I was so disappointed because it was terrible. Yeah. I was so disappointed. I was not able to watch that movie till about 2 years ago.
Wow.
I was,
Okay.
Wow. And I sat down in front of my huge widescreen TV and I said, all right, I'm gonna do this.
Nice.
And I watched it and I really, and I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, that's cool. Because it's beautiful film.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, when I had my first stores, I did video rentals where I would buy all the videotapes that were coming out. I'd buy an extra copy and we'd rent it and made rentals. So I was there through all the Ranma 1/2 and Flame of Recca and just like all that kind of stuff. Mobius or or I can't remember all of them. There's so many different things.
Oh yeah, there's so many. Bubblegum Crisis.
Oh my God, yes. Dirty Pair.
Dirty Pair. Yep.
Yeah, all that. The Nauticas were in that same time frame. Twilight. Was that a comic? I can't remember.
Was it Twilight of the Cockroaches? Remember that?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. I remember all that stuff. I'm old.
Oh yeah, it shows me. All right, so I'll hit you with one last one, and then we'll wrap up. Captain America or Batman?
Captain America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
Hey, but I mean, he's just a rich boy with a lot of toys.
This is true.
And I mean, come on, that's America's ass. We're gonna tell you.
This is true. It's fantastic ass it is.
It's America's ass. Yeah.
Exactly.
I just watched that the other night. That's why it came to mind when you said that. I'm a sucker for anything too that World War II. Anytime we get to that, anything steeped in history, it's going to get my attention so much faster than anything else.
Right.
So that's why I like that better.
All right, cool. So Brent, one more time, let people know where they can find you.
Sure. Brent Erwin on Facebook or Atomic Age Studios on Facebook. Or you can go to mycomicon.com. That's mycomiccon.com. I'm there as well, too. It's a social media network just for comics and creators. Go check it out, and you can find me. I'm the admin.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Brent. This was awesome. And I mean, and it, dude, like we don't talk enough.
I know.
Yeah,
so true. We have to fix that. So I mean, we can do this anytime.
All right, yeah. Like I said, anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome. So
I appreciate it. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Oh yeah. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So thank you, everybody. Like, subscribe, let everybody share out the video, let everyone know we're here, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.
Take care.